the debt collector isn't going to respect them, isn't going to be afraid of them, and won't do anything that they want to get done. And once you get that final order, you're the one collecting from them. You're the one garnishing their bank accounts instead of the other way around. If you're looking for a debt validation letter, you may have already skipped critical steps in your battle against illegal, abusive, and unfair debt collection. My name is Michael Wasylik. I'm one of the lawyers at Ricardo and Wasylik here in Florida, and together with my partner, Jason Ricardo, I help people just like you overcome debt collection with dignity. Today, I'm going to walk you through all 6 steps of your debt collection battle plan, show you why each of those steps is critically important to include in your overall strategy, and how to accomplish each one. If you miss any of these 6 steps, you're likely to run into a brick wall. You're going to get frustrated when the debt collector ignores your letter. You're going to get frustrated when you can't identify what's wrong with the debt collection, and you're going to get frustrated when you don't get the relief you're looking for. If you're able to follow all 6 of these steps, you're going to have a much better chance of getting the outcome you need, because you're going to have the respect of the debt collector, and you're going to have the leverage to make them do what you want them to do. One thing that we know is that a lot of the people who are viewing this channel are here because they're in a dispute with a debt collector. They're looking for a letter they can use to send to a debt collector because they think that that letter is by itself the secret weapon. Now, the dispute letter is an important part of the process, but it's only part of the process. And if you skip any of the steps that I'm describing in this video, you're going to wonder why they don't respond to you. You're going to wonder why they don't give you what you want, and you're going to have nothing to show for it but paper cuts and postage bills. So here are the 6 steps of your debt collection battle plan. Number 1, you need to gather all the information that's already available to you. Number 2, you need to analyze that information. Number 3, you need to use that information that you've analyzed to generate the dispute letter. Number 4, after you send the letter, you're going to analyze the information you've gotten back in order to tell if there's been a violation of federal law, if the debt collector has broken the law. Number 5, once you've identified the violations, you file a lawsuit against the debt collector for those violations. Number 6, use your lawsuit to get a judgment against the debt collector, or settle that lawsuit so that the debt collector has to do everything you need to completely resolve your debt collection problem. So let's walk through each one of those in turn. Number 1, gather the information that's available to you. So every debt collection starts somewhere. Either you get a letter or a phone call from the debt collector. Maybe they show up in your credit report. Maybe you've been sued. Whatever your interaction with the debt collector is, that is the stage which you need to start gathering information. Now, there are generally 4 sources of information that almost everyone has access to or can get at least some of. Those 4 sources of information are, number 1, any account statements for the debt that's being claimed. Number 2, your own bank records. Number 3, any communications you've gotten from the debt collector themselves, any information they've given you. And number 4, your credit reports, if they list the debt. Let's talk about each one of those. Bank statements. You should be able to get your bank statements for the relevant time period. Most banks do keep that information electronically, and you can either download it or you can order it through your bank's online banking portal. Account statements. If the debt is for a credit card or a similar loan account, you probably at one point received statements. You may have saved those. If you don't, there may be a way for you to get them online, or as a last case scenario, you may receive them in response to the debt validation letter that you'll be sending in step 3. If you don't have those right away, don't panic. You may be able to get them later. Information from the debt collector. Did the debt collector send you a letter? Does that letter include the amount of the debt, the date it's supposedly due for, the original creditor, the identity of the debt collector? Do they give you any information about proposed settlement or discounts? If they contacted you on the phone, what did they tell you? Did they give you information about the debt? Did they give you information about the debt collection? Did they disclose something they weren't supposed to disclose on the phone without verifying your identity? What time of day did they call you? Did they leave a voicemail message? Was it pre-recorded? All of those things can factor into whether or not there's a violation of law, and that's something you can use later on down the line. Number 4, your credit reports. Get your actual original credit reports directly from Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax. There's the online portal, annualcreditreport.com. I'm going to leave a link to that in the description below, along with a link to a video I did about how to access your online credit reports. It's important that you get your actual original credit reports directly from the source, because anything else is hearsay and will not be helpful for you. Step 2 of your debt collection battle is to analyze the information you've gathered to see if there's any inconsistencies, anything that doesn't line up, anything that doesn't make sense, anything that looks like it might be a violation. For example, if the debt collector says you haven't paid a debt, but your bank records show that you've got a payment, that's a problem that can be a basis for your dispute. If the debt collector says you didn't pay on a particular date, but your bank records show that there was a payment that cleared, that's a potential problem as well. If the account statements show that the last payment was on a particular date, but your credit reports say it was a different date, that's a potential problem as well. You want to look at all the inconsistencies. You want to compare your bank statements to your account statements, and then you want to compare both of those to the information you've gotten from the debt collector and compare them to your credit reports. And you want to compare all 3 credit reports against each other for each particular account. If you find something that doesn't match up, if you find a balance that is different, if you find a date that is different, if you find that there is a payment that was not properly recorded, make a note of each one of those discrepancies. Keep that list because we're going to use it to decide what kind of dispute we're going to send. Step 3. Create and send your debt dispute letter. If you're this far in the video, you're probably starting to understand how important those first 2 steps are before you send your dispute letter. If you just send a letter out into the wild without understanding what you're ultimately going to be saying the debt collector did wrong, that dispute letter is going to lack teeth. You're going to run into a brick wall. The debt collector isn't going to give you the response you want. Now, a lot of people come to this channel looking for debt collection dispute letters or debt collection validation letters, and what they don't realize is if they've skipped those first 2 steps, they're not going to know how to use the letter to move them closer to the goal they're trying to accomplish. They're not going to have the leverage they need to get the results they want. The debt collector isn't going to respect them, isn't going to be afraid of them, and won't do anything that they want to get done. After analyzing the information you've gathered, you should have a pretty clear idea of exactly what the dispute is going to be. Is it going to be that they overcharged you? Is it going to be that they have the dates wrong, that they didn't credit you for a payment? Maybe it's that it's not even your account. We have a packet of free sample letters. I'm going to put a link in the description below that you can use for all of those situations. You're going to want to send those letters certified mail, return receipt requested. You're going to want to get the green card back so you can prove that they got it. So if you need to hold them accountable later on, you've got that proof. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail in this video about how to write the letter because I've done a number of other videos about that. If you search in the channel, you're going to find those. Step number 4 is identify the violations. Now, after you send your dispute letter, the debt collector has to do a couple of things. Number 1, they have to stop collecting until they provide you the verification that they're required to give you. If they don't send you a verification, they have to stop collecting. If they continue to collect after getting your letter without having given you the verification, that's a violation. If they respond and give you information that shows that they've been misleading you about the debt, either the amounts or the character or the status of the debt, that's a violation. So once you get that verification back, use that to identify any ways they've misled you about the amount of the debt, the status of the debt, the dates of payment, and so on. Anything they've told you that's a lie that is in those papers, you can use. Pull your credit report again. After the debt collector signed your green card and sent it back to you, after they got your letter, did they report the debt again to the credit bureau, and did they fail to mark it as disputed? Did they misreport the amounts of the debt? Did they misreport the dates of payments? Did they report anything on your credit report that you can prove is false? If so, that's a violation. I'm not going to go into great detail in this video about what the individual violations of the FDCPA might be, but I will tell you that they come in 3 broad categories. Number 1, are they saying anything to you or to anyone else that's misleading or deceptive or false? That's a violation. Communications. Are they communicating with you improperly? Are they calling you when you've told them you don't want to get phone calls? Are they calling other people? Are they disclosing your information to third parties? Are they mailing stuff to the wrong address? Are they communicating with you in some way that's improper, inconvenient, or unfair? That is a potential violation. Number 3 is disclosures. Are they giving you the legally required disclosures, or are they improperly disclosing your information to third parties? That is also potentially a violation. You should be making a list of any statements they've made to you or anyone else that are misleading, any communications they've made that are improper, or any disclosures they've made that are improper. You probably don't need a detailed knowledge of the law to identify many of these violations, and one is often enough. So once you've got that list of violations, it's time to move move to step 5. Step 5 is file your lawsuit. Now, this is a step that most people skip, and it's the number one reason why most people don't get the results they need. Instead of sending another letter or complaining to the Attorney General or the CFPB, you take the debt collector to court, because if they have broken the law, that is the only way to hold the debt collector accountable for the violations of law they've committed on your account. No one else is going to step in and save you. You have to be the one to take action. Now, you're probably wondering, how do I file a lawsuit if I can't afford a lawyer? And the good news is you don't need to, because these are what we call fee shifting claims, which means that if you've correctly identified a way in which the debt collector has broken the law, then they are the ones who are going to pay your attorney's fees. Most lawyers who handle these types of claims will do them for no money up front, because they get paid at the back end by the debt collector, not by you. So, for example, if you're in Florida and you have a debt collection violation and we agree with you that there's a violation of the law, we would typically handle that case with no money upfront from you. So if you successfully found a violation, you should be able to get a lawyer who will do it for no money upfront, and that's how you get your lawsuit filed. Step 6, this is where all your hard work and preparation bears fruit. This is what you've been working so hard to get. Once you file a lawsuit, most debt collectors or their lawyers will reach out to you and try to settle that lawsuit. And those settlement discussions are where you ask for the things you want. Do you want the debt to go away? Do you want them to remove it from your credit report? Do you want money for the damages they've caused you? All of those things are things you can ask for and things you can receive. And especially if you've got a lawyer in your corner who has experience negotiating those terms, the debt collector is going to respect you, they're going to be afraid of you, and they're going to give you a better result than if you're doing it on your own. Your lawyer can also help you write up the settlement agreement and make sure the agreement says exactly what you intend it to say and is enforceable so that nobody can back out of it. So what happens if the debt collector doesn't settle with you? Well, then you take your case to final judgment. Then you get the court to declare that the debt collector has violated the law and that you're entitled to recover damages. And once you get that final order, you're the one collecting from them. You're the one garnishing their bank accounts instead of the other way around. Most cases never get that far because most cases settle, but if you do get that far, know that you're the one in control. Identifying the violations is probably the hardest step for most non-lawyers to accomplish. So if you want to understand better how to spot violations in a debt collection situation, I want you to watch the video that I'm going to put on screen now, because that video will walk you through some of the more common violations, how to spot them, so you can use them as part of your debt collection battle plan. Thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next one.